bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man, how you doing? All right. Fade to Black. Today's Tuesday, November 21st, 325 days into the new year, just 40 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? All right, happy Thanksgiving. Now, what a great week. Last night we had David Wilcock on the show. Nice Thanksgiving end of the year wrap-up special with him. Amazing. And tonight we're going to follow that up with the one and only Richard Dolan. He is here. Now, we're going to go old school tonight. We are going to discuss UFOs and Disclosure 2018, what we can expect next year. Now, also, we're going to throw in some false flags because he has got a new show out, a new series on Gaia called False Flags. It's absolutely amazing. It's his passion, and he's been wanting to do this for a very long time. So we've got to throw that in too as well. But also, there's a way if you start connecting the dots, and false flags and UFOs actually go together, don't they? And there has been a conspiracy theory floated around for probably the better part of 10 years, which is using UFOs as a false flag for everything. And it kind of goes back, it harkens back to the original speeches that Ronald Reagan gave back in the 80s, United Nations and so forth, about, would it take an alien, attack from outer space to finally unite the world? Think about that, the New World Order, and would that be the case, right? So that's how you tie those together, and there's nobody better than Richard bleepin' Dolan. So he is here with us tonight. Now, tomorrow night is another Fader night, open lines all night long. And John Rappaport is taking the week off. It's Thanksgiving. So tomorrow will be open lines, and we've moved that to tomorrow night because Thursday we are celebrating Thanksgiving with our family, and as you will be too. Okay, so just enjoy your weekend, and happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at Fade to Black, because we have so much to be thankful for. And I said this last night. I just want to drive this home. If you have the ability to listen to this show, to be watching this show, which is something rare, but if you have that ability, you have a lot to be thankful for. There are so many people in this world, billions in this world, that don't have that opportunity. So think about that. No matter how rough, life is rough for everybody. It's rough for me. Everybody's got their issues that they're dealing with day to day to day. Okay? But those are problems that other people wish they had because they don't have anything. So think about that. Lay down your car payment, electric bill coming up. You've got to put food on the table. You've got a boss that's stressing you out, whatever. You just got a speeding ticket, whatever it is, these day-to-day things, right? At least you have those problems, okay? So think about that. We all have a lot to be thankful for. You got that speeding ticket because you have a fast car. Right? Oh, man. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And tomorrow night we'll be talking about everybody's turkeys and food and what you guys do for Thanksgiving and what your families are like. We'll do that tomorrow night. We'll have a lot of fun with it. And that's it. So tonight it's Richard Dolan. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Richard Dolan. His is at Rich Dolan. I've talked to him about this before. He set up his Twitter account when, apparently he used to be called Rich in a past life. So that's why it's Rich Dolan. And I find that to be absolutely hysterical. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel or like us on Facebook. Everything is right there on our website, jimmychurchradio.com. All right, now, any questions or comments during the show tonight? We use TweetDeck on Twitter. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox where everybody is hanging out. And hello, everybody. Man, see, TweetDeck, for those, we're broadcasting out tonight as well as all of our radio syndication. Tonight we're doing a special live event on YouTube for Thanksgiving. And because we're giving, we're thankful, right? And so for those of you out there that aren't familiar with the show, that are new, we use TweetDeck. Now, it is a Twitter product, but we use TweetDeck, and TweetDeck runs automatically. It's not like Twitter where you've got to click on notifications or you got to do this, no. TweetDeck runs automatically. And so I'm just sitting here, and it's in front of me, right? And I've got all these Twitter accounts open, and it's just click, 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 click. There was 20 clicks in a row, 20 tweets, just like that. It's amazing. Get yourself TweetDeck and come and hang out with us. So, of course, we have the two chat rooms. We have Spreaker, and we have the chat room over at KGRA, The Planet. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Last night I had said that Lana Turner was killed by Phil Spector. And I misspoke. It was Lana Clarkson. Okay, so I misspoke. I don't know how Lana Turner came out, but it just did. And I got so much email today. Dude, it wasn't Lana Turner. Lana Turner died of, she had throat cancer. Okay, I apologize. When we think of Lana's, we think of Lana Turner, okay? And it just came out. I don't know why it did, but it was Lana Clarkson. Okay, little fixing of that. I do want to get this going here. We have just 9 days left. Today's the 21st. 9 days left for our late night next podcast star contest, courtesy of your friends over at Tascam. And now, if you haven't got your entry in yet, we are going to find the next podcast star. And with all of the entries that we've got right now, we have got some contenders, okay? Really, really stellar stuff is coming in. But you have 9 days left. Don't procrastinate. We are giving away, courtesy of Tascam, a complete podcast studio. Okay, so we want that next conspiracy late night talk show host. Okay, so all you have to do is go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Game Changer tab at the top of the page. All of the rules and how to enter are right there. Okay, and it's all very simple. You just have to give us a pitch. And what is that pitch? An audio recording, your podcast name, and some artwork. Just make it good. Bring your soul into this. That's what you want to show us. We want to see the real you. Okay? That's all you got to do. Now, the grand prize from Tascam, you're going to get the winner. Is going to get a Tascam Mini Studio Creator US42. You're going to get a pair of TH-MX2 headphones. You're going to get one of their TM95GN microphones, all of the cables, everything that you need. We're going to give you the audience. We're going to give you the recognition. We're going to give you the fame. We're going to give you everything. And your first podcast is going to air right here on the Game Changer Network. Okay? 9 days left to enter. Contest closes November 30th. Okay? Now, also, I want to thank everybody who has participated and is participating with Unity Workshops on their first production series on Portals, their podcast. All right? And they still, for the next series of podcasts and everything that they are working on, they need producers and writers and artists and audio and video editing. This is a community effort, unity in the community, right? Audio, video testimonials. Need writing done. So all you have to do is sign up at theunityproject.org. You can contact John at modernmasters.org or Rita right here at jimmychurchradio.com. Okay, now, our next event, which is coming up February 9th through the 12th, 2018, is the Conscious Life Expo at the LAX Hilton right here in Los Angeles, California. Tickets and info are over at theconsciouslifeexpo.com, and you really, really want to stay at the Hilton there. Okay, and there's a lot of reasons for that. So tickets and info, consciouslifeexpo.com. Opening night, I will be hosting the Ancient Aliens panel there with David Wilcock, Corey Good, Linda Moulton Howe, William Henry, and Jay Widener. All of them are stars on Ancient Aliens, and that panel is going to be in the Plaza Ballroom, and it may be already sold out. So you need to go and get your tickets now. I want to hang out with all of you Fadernauts, and you know I'm going to be throwing out some T-shirts. The T-shirt cannon will be in full effect. ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, where we have over 750 archive shows. Just click over on the podcast banner at jimmychurchradio.com. It's just $2 a month. And you can become a Fadernaut, too, as well, over in our membership section on the site. And there you go. Everything that you need for your membership is right there. And don't forget, Conscious Life Expo, our sponsors here on this show are what make this show happen. For everybody out there that's watching right now on YouTube for free, think about this. It's done with sponsorships, okay? And our sponsors are the best. They've been with us for a very long time. And Life Change Tea, River Moon Coffee, makers of our coffee, the Fade to Black blend, and New Pharma, all three of them are going to be at the Conscious Life Expo. So you know you want to come and hang out with Juanita and Jeff and Chip Paul and Ronnie McMullen from Life Change Tea. You hear them all the time on this show. They're going to be at the Conscious Life Expo. So visit all of our sponsors. Also, Numana Food Storage Systems, and you can click on the banner right now over at jimmychurchradio.com. Spend over $100 with Numana, you're going to get an autographed Fade to Black T-shirt. How cool is that, right? So just go. Click on the Numana Food Storage. You need to be prepared. You never know when that emergency is going to kick down, or that emergency of a midnight snack. All of that is right there with Numana and their food storage systems. Okay, let's get this show cracking. Today, happy birthday to Bjork. Bjork. I like Bjork. She used to really, really freak me out. Bjork today is 52. What was the name of her band before she was Bjork? Oh, man, I want to say it was the Cranberries. Was it the Cranberries? Can't remember. Somebody popped that up on Twitter really quick. Also today, Gina Malone is 33, and great young actress, 33 years old, but she was the girlfriend in Donnie Darko, and she was also the star in Sucker Punch, and that was a great movie, by the way. Today, Gina Malone is 33. Our dead guy's birthday today is a nice toast. Harold Ramis. Harold bleepin' Ramis. 1944 to 2014. Died very young at the age of 69. Screenwriter, director, and actor. Known for some of the greatest films of it's Bjork. No, not here in the United States. It's Bjork. Sugar Cubes. That's it. Sugar Cubes. Sugar Cubes was a great band. What did I say? The Cranberries. Harold Ramis, 1944-2014. And it was seriously responsible for some of the greatest films of our generation. How about Caddyshack, Meatballs, Back to School, Club Paradise, one of my favorite films of all time, Groundhog Day, Stripes, Ghostbusters, and National Lampoon's Vacation. Man, also SCTV. He was really good in that, too, as well. A lot of people don't remember him from SCTV. Happy birthday. I know he's listening, Harold Ramis. On this day in history, in 1877, it was one of the biggest days in the world, in world history. In 1877, on this day, Edison announces his first great invention, the phonograph. That's right, a way to record and play back sound. Got that done in 1877. Absolutely incredible. Here's a fader fact for you. A really interesting one, too, as well. Elon Musk proposed to his second wife after they were together for just 10 days. But that's not what's interesting. What is interesting is that they divorced 2 years later and then remarried the year after that and then filed for divorce again and then withdrew that filing, refiled, and then finally divorced and went through with it. And that is a fader fact. All right, tonight Richard Dolan is back. We're gonna do a throwback kind of show. Tonight we're gonna discuss UFOs and disclosure, what we can expect in the coming year of 2018. He's also got a new show out on Gaia. It is called False Flags. The show is absolutely amazing. And it starts off, we're going to talk a little bit about this tonight with Richard, but starts off with like a false flags 101. The first episode takes you through what false flags are and why they're called false flags and so forth. And then really goes deep. The show is amazing. So we'll discuss a little bit of false flags and UFOs combined with disclosure all night tonight. Happy Thanksgiving, because this is a really special Thanksgiving kind of show. Tomorrow night is another Fader Night Open Lines. John Rappaport will be taking the week off, and we'll see him again next Thursday. Now, hackers have accessed, again, millions of Uber users' personal information. Now, this is what is amazing here. Uber decided not to report it. 2 hackers got into the system, and this was last year in 2016, and officially, outside of the company, accessed personal information of 57 million Uber users, including names, email addresses, phone numbers. And the company hasn't really disclosed much more than that, but they also accessed driver's license numbers. Yeah. Officially 600,000 driver's license numbers. Now, that's obviously Uber drivers, if you think about that. Okay? The 600,000 was included in the total number of affected users, the 57 million. Company did not say anything. They didn't alert victims. They didn't alert regulators. They didn't alert law enforcement. Nobody. Okay? Now, they discovered it last year. They knew that had happened. Going through, the charges and some of the allegations that were going on with personnel and some other things all the way up to the CEO of the company last year. The stock prices were going up and down. You had different cities and countries around the world revolting against Uber, and they've got now a lot of competition where before they were the only ride in town, but now there's Lyft and others, right? So Uber had a lot of things on their plate, and drivers complaining about not getting paid, and then Uber's raising prices, but they weren't, paying their drivers more, and so forth. Now the company is really, really, really worth a lot of money, okay? But to do this, worrying about dollars, and to get hacked and have the personal information for 57 million people exposed and not let anybody know about it, not directly to the customers, like, hey, change your password. They didn't do that. It's an unbelievable violation of the public trust. And with the problems that Uber has been going through, why would you do it at this point? Who is advising, giving that advice? I don't understand it. We have the problems with Equifax. We have the problems repeated with Yahoo. And I can go on and on and on. I would think that if we did the math, that pretty much everybody in the United States, everybody now has their personal information for sale on the dark web. Somewhere. I don't know how to say it more clearly than that. There was a point, I remember my first driver's license in Indiana. And my mom said to me there in Indiana, she goes, what's really great? It's easy. Somebody had asked me for my driver's license number, which was in my wallet or something. And my mom goes, no, everybody knows their driver's license number here in Indiana. I said, oh, yeah, really? She goes, yeah, it's your social security number with an S in front of it. I went, oh, really? And I thought to myself, that feels weird. That feels strange. Now, we know that your social security number and your private information, it's never needed to be more private than it is today. We do everything we can not to let anybody know anything. A PIN number, this. You don't want to see people. You don't want your mail and you're at a checkout line and scanners and chips and cards and card readers and all of this is out there. And so we need to know now, today, when something like this happens, it is your responsibility within seconds to alert your 57 million customers in your customer base. They are the reason why your company exists. That's the respect that you need to give back to your customers. And by not doing it, you're showing zero respect. You're not respecting the money. You're not respecting what has propped you up. You're not respecting what has put you there, which is your customers. We need to protect that. I am so blown away by this news today. I was really upset when it came down with Equifax, when it happened once or twice, 3 times with Yahoo. Where we're talking about 150 million, 200 million people. Population of the United States is 350 million. So when you're talking about numbers of 200 million people, right? 57 million people. 57 million. It's 1 in 7 people were exposed. 1 in 7. I'm just totally disappointed. I really, we have here. I mean, there's nothing you can really do. Of course, we have a credit card, a credit lock, or LifeLock, and we might even have 2 different companies that were signed up with. And I'm waiting for LifeLock to get hacked. I don't know how to keep stuff private anymore. I just don't. And what we really need is to make sure that those large companies that have that kind of information, if there is a breach, to immediately, to the second, to alert the customer base. That's it. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Tonight, Richard Dolan. And we had an absolutely fantastic show last night with David Wilcock. And we've done a lot of shows with David this year, every year. You know, we probably do 3, 4, 5 shows with David all year long. Last night was the first time for me that I think he was really comfortable. And the reason why he's comfortable is he's seeing things play out. And last night, it was that kind of show. And I expect the same thing tonight from Richard. It's a very special week for us here and for you. This is Thanksgiving. For you to spend 3 hours of your evening every night here with us, we want to give back to you. So last night, David Wilcock. Tonight, Richard Dolan. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, and I'll be right back after this short break with our guest, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. We've got all the chat rooms open. It's going to be a very dynamic evening. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at KGRAradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Great week here on Fade to Black, and makes me feel great to know that you're here with us, spending your time here on Fade to Black. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Richard at Rich Dolan. You do that, it pops up Richard Bleepin' Dolan, but at Rich Dolan on Twitter. Richard is one of the world's leading UFO historians. He has written many classics for the field, including UFOs in the National Security State, AD After Disclosure, and UFOs for the 21st Century Mind, as well as ongoing booklets, and one that he wrote on the Trump administration and disclosure. You need to really go check that out at Richard Dolan Press. It's a really, really amazing piece of work. It's only 70 pages, I think, so it's a quick read. But his lectures and everything have always just captured audiences all around the world. And, of course, he has appeared on television in Ancient Aliens and, along with myself, on Hangar 1. Wish that series would come back, and it just might under another name. Currently, he is the writer and host of the series False Flags on Gaia. I was speaking about this to the Fadernauts before the show tonight. It's an outstanding series, and you should go check that out right now on Gaia. It's really well done. And he has, of course, the Richard Dolan Show right here on KGRA. He's got another radio show that he does called the Effed Files, and you can check out all of that over at richarddolanpress.com. Tonight, we're going to discuss UFOs Disclosure 2018, the best evidence in the history, and what we can expect in the coming year. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Richard, good evening, my man.
Hi, Jimmy. Hey, it's nice to be here with you on KGRA. Thanks for having me on tonight.
It's always great to hear your voice. Now, you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going right now. First off, happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you're ready.
And to you. Happy Thanksgiving.
And I hope you're ready for this Thursday. But what was the last song you listened to today?
I forgot you were going to ask me that. I honestly forgot you were going to ask me that question. How could I forget? Because you always do this. Let's see. I was working up in my attic, getting that whole thing. I've been doing a major renovation up there. Mm-hmm. I had disco music on all evening. I love my disco.
Yes.
And I think I had Donna Summer singing Bad Girls. I think that's my latest.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, she's awesome.
You know, disco, for me, it takes me right back. We're the same age. So it takes me right back to those very special days of the 70s, man. And it's I don't care what anybody, I'm a heavy metal guy. You know that. You know, I like my heavy metal, but disco, that will get your emotions going, doesn't it? It just.
Let me say this about disco. I have really come to appreciate disco very, very much. And disco taught me a lesson in the 70s. I was a teenager. And I remember being about 15 years old and really digging the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, yeah.
That had the Bee Gees. Travolta was a mega superstar dancer in that movie. And then came the whole backlash against disco, at least among a lot of kids in my high school.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, the disco sucks T-shirts. And everything about disco sucked. And it was I was 15, 16, and I, to my shame, really, allowed myself to succumb to that. And I got myself into this disco sucks mode as well. And I remembered I traded in my Saturday Night Fever album for Frampton Comes Alive.
Yeah, I know.
But here's the thing. I just want to say this, and to anyone, I want this to be a lesson, because I look back on that period of my life, and I think I can honestly say it was the last time in my life when I allowed stupid peer pressure,
censorship,
to tell me right, like what I should like and how I should express myself. I don't think that I've had any other like major instances like that, but I think, why is it that we are so influenced, by the attitudes of those around us? And I look back, I think of disco, it's happy music. It's not what I would call deep, but how much of heavy metal is really deep when you get right down to it? Disco is happy. It's great for me to work to, and I find myself really enjoying it these days.
The country, if you remember, and I know this may freak some people out that didn't go through it, but there were, the rock stations across the country were like doing disco record destroying things, right? Bring us your disco records. We'll run over it with steamrollers,
I know. It actually really was.
It got
when
gnarly.
I think back, it's like, what the heck was going on with these people?
I know. The whole disco sucks thing, and I got sucked into it like, so many people did, and it was just promotions, and I get that, marketing. But there was this revolution, this whole rock versus disco music thing that was fake. It was brought on to us by the man.
Well, the reality is that disco rocks, just like rock rocks.
I know, right?
Enjoy your disco, people.
It was the disco sucks false flag. So,
in a way, right?
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to ask you. This is where I'm going to start off, sure. and it's this. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed your Gaia False Flag series, but before you say thank you, let me say this: I didn't know what to expect with it. Okay, now this was for me, and I could be wrong here, but this was your first time where you haven't been the guest star. You're not the talking head. Now this is your thing. This is all you. And right. I have to say, Richard, that you have really evolved into a communicator, where before I think people expected you to be the black and white pragmatic historian, and you spoke that way. Now you have come into your own, and I think Richard Dolan, the guy that I know, is who is on this show, and you've really evolved. Can you tell? Sure. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, all of our life, all of our intellectual development is evolution. It really honestly is. I'm in my 50s now. I'm not where I was in my 30s or my 40s. When I broke into the UFO arena almost 20 years ago, I was very explicitly going in with a certain kind of armor. And that armor was as a historian who had a factual foundation that he wanted to present to the world on the matter of UFOs. And I felt that was the best way to go forward with discussing the subject in a very serious way that would get people's attention. I think that worked. Overall, I think that those first two histories that I wrote, UFOs and the National Security State, were noteworthy, at least to readers. The impression I get is because it did appear to be a fairly objective study that didn't insert a lot of emotion, a lot of invective, and so on. And it's funny. I look back. That's the kind of reputation that people seem to give me. Dolan's just the facts and so on. But the reality is, as well as studying history my entire life, I've studied philosophy my entire life. I've studied literature my entire life. I've studied art my entire life. And so there's a lot of different aspects to what my brain is about, what my mind is. I've studied esoteric things for almost my entire life as well, and people are sometimes shocked to hear that. But I'm very scientific in my orientation about things, but it doesn't mean that I don't study some really crazy things. Relating to the False Flag series, I'm very glad that you like it. I appreciate that. I think I'm speaking with a true voice. I think that's right. But I would point out that show is filled with research that I conducted that is every bit as factually grounded as any UFO research that I've ever done. But so I'm not sure how to answer that. Maybe you and other listeners and readers can answer that question better than I can, to be honest. I think it's hard sometimes for a writer or a public person to get an objective view of where they're at. What I can tell you is that every year, every January, actually, of every year, I always assess where I'm at intellectually in my research and where I want to go. So I'm constantly trying to reassess, reevaluate, and go deeper, ever deeper with where I'm at. I can't ever be satisfied, ever, with the research that I've done in prior years. So I'm constantly trying to move forward. And the false flag study, which, by the way, everything that's in that series on Gaia is material that I've been writing for the book that I am working on. If you like the series, I like to say that you'll love the book as well.
The alleged book.
Right. According to what Dolan claims, this book of which he speaks, this alleged book, which may or may not occur.
Yes.
it'll be out in the first half of 2018.
Really looking forward to it. Dedicated to getting it done. And the thing is, look, I want it off my plate so I can move on to other things. I've got other projects that I absolutely have piled up, and the false flag book, nothing happens until the false flag book is done. The rumor, the conspiracy theory that has been floated around, probably going back since Reagan did his famous UN speeches about, an alien situation here to unite Earth. There's been this theory floated around in our circles about an alien invasion being used as a false flag. Now, I know this is a strange segue, but it is a real one, and this is a theory that has got a lot of teeth to it. What do you think about that?
Actually, I don't agree with that. And I've been dealing with this rumor, these claims, for many years. I think, I'll be honest with you, and I'm not including you in this, so please don't take it the wrong way, but I think a lot of irresponsible people have been spreading rumors like this for a long time without evidence. Zero evidence. Every time I hear any kind of claim, it's based on some kind of anonymous inside source, and no one ever knows who these people are.
Right.
Now, I can tell you the original version of this theory, this false flag alien invasion, derived ultimately from a deceased man from Quebec named Serge Monast. I did a lot of study of this guy, and in fact, I wrote an article about him a few years ago. It's I have it on my site. You could Google it, and it's on Project Bluebeam. That's the original iteration of this theory. Monast didn't really seem to get out of his house very much, to be honest with you. It's writing in the early 90s, claimed to have had a connection at NASA, of all places. This guy lived in Quebec. I don't even think he spoke English at all. But he claimed to have a connection at NASA who told him that the New World Order was going to create a false flag. They didn't use that phrase, but like holographic displays in the sky to convince people of the second coming of Christ. Monast was a very devout Christian. And this is the first version of this idea. So through the 90s, he promoted this idea that in the year 2000, Y2K, which a lot of people were worked up over, was going to be not an alien invasion, but a second coming of Jesus false flag. And when you really think about the logic of this, it's utterly ludicrous. Should be beneath contempt, but yet people buy into it. The technology, how would this happen? How do you convince a world of people who are not Christians that this is a big thing? How do you convince scientists and millions of skeptical and hostile scientists as well? And anyway, it was nonsense, and Monast died, and then the whole idea morphed into a UFO thing by the early 2000s. And Then instead of the second coming of Jesus, it was a fake alien invasion, displays in the sky. And again, I would ask you or any listener to just ask yourself, how stupid are people really supposed to be? Like, so you pretend to have an alien invasion. Are you going to get away with it simply by telling people without showing them aliens in the sky? Now, here's another thing. You create a fake one of your breakaway civilization ships and blow up the Empire State Building or blow up the Kremlin. I mean, that's a hell of a logistical nightmare for anyone to pull off. And I'm extremely skeptical. And for what purpose? To implement the global fascist New World Order, which is already happening all around us every single day? I can tell you right now, there are way too many loose ends. 9/11 was hard enough for those people. What we're talking about, a fake alien invasion. There's no logic in my mind. And but most importantly, I've never seen a single shred of evidence or even quasi evidence that people can point to. They just go on their hunch or what they believe is going to happen without providing any reason. And I think we deserve better than that. So I don't support the idea of a false flag alien invasion. Now, I do think that the UFO subject has been filled with false flaggy kinds of things. Like, there's been lies about UFOs since the beginning, of course. There's been disinformation in the UFO field from the beginning. There have been, and I'm convinced to this day, individuals that are either on some payroll whose purpose is to disinform, or unknowingly being promoted by those very interests because they're off the deep end or they have an ego trip or whatever it is, and they're being used for those purposes anyway. So there's always been disinfo spewing into the UFO field, and for a good reason, because the UFO subject is important. And it's important for those people who are managing that secret to keep all of us off balance. And they're really good at that. It's really not that difficult. You've got a field that's as wide open as our own. Everyone's got access to a microphone. Everyone's got access to YouTube. Everyone's doing interviews. And if, you wanted to bring a crazy person in or an irresponsible liar into the field, just put them in front of a microphone and there'll be always people who listen to them. So disinformation is almost the norm in our field, and it's really making it difficult for those of us to continue doing responsible research and to move ahead. I try, and there's a lot of other good people out there doing good UFO research. So we'll keep doing what we do, but false flag, alien invasion, no, I'm not buying it. Now, I'll say this. Last thing I'll say on this is, if tomorrow President Trump were to say there's an alien invasion, I would say that's a false flag. so if a president or any president, it could have been Obama, if any president were to say that there's an alien invasion, I'd be like, okay, that's a lie. That's a false flag. But it's not going to happen. They're not going to go down that road. Because again, it's a matter of they can convince your neighbors and my neighbors. They can convince people who have no education. They can convince people who are prone to believing anything that the mainstream media tells them. But there's a lot of people in this world who are in positions of power who strongly disbelieve in this. And they're going to need something a little bit more than a light show to convince them that there's actually something going on. So no, I just don't buy it. Unless you want to kill all the scientists or bribe them off, millions of them, and it's just too much to ask, in my opinion.
Well, okay, then what about Project Bluebeam?
Well, I talked about it. I think Bluebeam, came out of the mind of Serge Monast, who I think personally was a bit deranged. He was a fanatical evangelical Christian. And I'm not trying to insult people who are devout Christians, but there are fanatical evangelical Christians in this world. He was one of them. He had a very strong belief system and wrapped his entire Bluebeam scenario around that belief system, again, providing no evidence for it. His idea morphed, as I said, into this idea of an alien invasion, which, again, similarly has had no evidence to support it. So, I mean, there's people like Dr. Carol Rosin, who's a friend of mine. I like Carol. And she's talked often about her encounter with Dr. Werner von Braun at the end of his life in the 1970s. I have every reason to believe Carol 100% on this. And she said when von Braun was nearing the end, he was dying of cancer, he said to her, Carol, they're going to do first, they're going to lie and tell you that, the communists are the threat. Then they're going to blame the terrorists. Then they're going to blame an asteroid. And then they're going to talk about aliens as a way to work people up to get them to obey. Now, I'm not saying von Braun didn't say it, but the fact that Werner von Braun said this to Carol Rosin 40 years ago doesn't really mean that von Braun had the keys to the kingdom even then. He was an important scientist, but you don't know and I don't know what von Braun really knew. Was he just spouting off his opinion? Was he angry? What was it? I don't know. I don't know what the situation was. When we turned this into some like holy dogma that, oh my God, von Braun said this, so therefore it has to be exactly true.
Right.
And, it's like that with a lot of things in this field. But so lies abound in our world. Lies abound from our government, no matter who is in power. It's just the way it is. So we can't trust the United States national security structure for anything. They have an agenda that's really dangerous for the world and for ordinary people. But, so expect them to do false flags and expect them to lie about UFOs. But to do a false flag alien invasion, I don't think we're there.
It is so easy to start a rumor, a theory, or an agenda today, right? It's way too easy for anybody to do. Like you said, anybody with a microphone, computer, chat room, forum, you're off and running.
Pretty much anybody.
Anybody can do it. And we've got a slew of things that have been floating around for a long time. And one of those is that we got the Iraqi army to surrender as quickly as we did because we were, showing images up in the sky of Muhammad or Allah, and they just freaked out and turned and ran.
Now that actually could be true.
Right.
What is definitely true relating to the Persian Gulf War, going back to the early 90s. This is 25 plus years ago.
That's right.
The U.S. even back then was expert users of what you might call acoustic weaponry. So these would be things that would, an electromagnetic types of weapons. And then, of course, I think they were way more advanced in 03, 04 when they were going in. So in other words, using different technologies to disable your target, intellectually disable them, cognitively disable them. No, that's a major thing that the U.S. military does. Now, did they use images of Muhammad? I don't know if that would have been effective, to be honest with you, because in Islam, as anyone with the basic knowledge knows, it is forbidden to have any depictions of the prophet. And so why would they happen to know what he looked like? I mean, they wouldn't. There's no image of Muhammad like there are popular images of Jesus that a Muslim would say, oh, well, yeah, that's Muhammad. So I don't see how that would really work, frankly. And if American military did that, frankly, that seems kind of stupid. But what they would do are different types of electronic measures that would be directed at like the enemy biological organisms, like against their brains, against their to disrupt them. So that's a real technology.
Do you think that it was actually used, though? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because there's the other stories about finding a Vimana in a cave in Afghanistan, or a Stargate in Ur in Iraq. These things have a way of developing legs and continuing and not going away.
Well, some of these rumors, to me anyway, are more believable than others. So the idea of using acoustic weaponry to disable the opponent, that's very believable because we know what the technology is and it exists. And it's now being augmented and modified for domestic crowd control and the like. So that's a real thing. As far as Stargates, I mean, our old friend, the late Jim Mars, used to talk about this for a while. I don't know if he continued to, but I chatted with Jim about, he believed, I think, that there was something like a Stargate that was found in Iraq, and that this was the actual reason for the second Iraqi war, the one that really destroyed Iraq in 2003 and 2004. I don't know that this is true. As much as I respected Jim and miss him to this day, I don't know that that's true. And I don't really know where the data is on this. And it's a bit of a hurdle, more of a hurdle for me. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but I just don't know that it's true. The Vimana, I got some real problems with the Vimana stories in Afghanistan, as I have with a lot of claims about Vimanas in general. It's funny, after my book UFOs for the 21st Century Mind came out, I did an interview with Carrie Cassidy, and the first question, she just jumped out at me and says, "Why do you not believe in Vimanas?" I was like, "Carrie, I have a 460-page book I just wrote, and this is like the one thing you're jumping on." What I said, though, there's, if we look at Vimanas, you got the Mahabharata and you've got the Ramayana in the ancient Vedic text, and they do talk extensively about these things called Vimanas, which were, you could say, chariots of the gods. But I did point out in that book, and that most people who talk about Vimanas are actually referring to a spurious text known as the Vamanika Shastra, and that was channeled actually in the late 19th century. And it has been taken as an authentic Vimana text, and it is not. It is anything but that. And that's the Vimana text that talks about all the technical elements of Vimanas and all the technology of how to create a Vimana and the fact that it has Mercury and so forth.
Right.
That's purely channeled from just a little over 1 century ago. So it's not authentic Vedic ancient text. It has nothing to do with the Vimana traditions that existed in those texts. So I mean, as a responsible researcher, it has to be discounted. Sorry, but it's not authentic. Now, someone can say, well, it's authentic channeled and you can believe it or not, but that's I'm not going there. So my attitude about Vimanas is there's been a lot that has been taken about the Vimanas that I think is not legit. On top of that, there's a lot of bad translations that were done in the 50s and 60s on these ancient Indian texts, including the claim that there was an ancient nuclear explosion in India thousands of years ago, which people have heard about, and that's all based on just bad translations. So I want to be really careful. I have been looking for the longest time for a really good Vedic scholar, like a good, legitimate Vedic scholar to go over all of the instances of Vimanas in the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, which are vastly longer than even Homer's Iliad or any ancient text you can imagine.
Yeah, that's right.
They're huge, huge, huge. And I don't know of a Vedic scholar who would be willing to do it, but I would love to connect with them and have them to do some work on this.
The guy is Michael Cremo. That's who you want. Michael Cremo's the dude. Let's take a break right here, and I'm wondering, once again, where is my audio? It's just trippy around here, Richard. I don't know what it is.
You sound good to me.
No. I'm talking about my music. My music's not queuing on time. Our guest tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back. More with Richard right after this short break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at KGRAradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, continuing our Thanksgiving week here, our guest is Richard Dolan. And I've got a little bit of breaking news here. I just want to put a damper on the show, but David Cassidy has died. He was 67, and there you go. Talking, about our childhood, right, Richard? David Cassidy.
I'm very sad to hear that.
67, man. 67 years old. Oh, man. I don't know if you had a sister, but growing up, I had an older sister, and her bedroom was plastered with David Cassidy posters, man.
Oh, mine too. I have a sister who's 3 years younger than me, and she's David Cassidy, Sean Cassidy, and all the other Teen Beat
Donny
teen
Osmond.
idols.
Yeah, Donny Osmond.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Unbelievable. David Cassidy, 67 years old. Okay. This is the UFO question. I think that today, more so than ever in history, this question being brought to us every single day by the mass media and other organizations about the possibility of alien life and exoplanets and fast radio burst and contact and all of these Dyson spheres and so forth. It is something that is talked about every single day. This week, it was about 2 weeks ago, but it was brought up again yesterday. The first interstellar object, right, is passing through our solar system. And it is taking this dramatic turn and is now leaving the solar system. But it did a flyby, by our sun and Earth. Very interesting. The object itself is pretty trippy, as it has been described. But what is it that the government knows? I mean, that's the question that's on the front of everybody's mind. What is it that they know? Does it go as far as retrieved and crashed craft, alien bodies and direct contact? What is it that they know?
Well, they surely, when we say they, let's talk about those people in the government who are actually in the know, because most government and even most people in the classified world are not in the know about this. Those people who have deeply researched this matter, we all understand this subject is on what is known as a need-to-know basis. So for that very tiny elite group of people who understand this, yes, they have recovered crashed UFOs. Absolutely, they have. The evidence for that is actually overwhelming. And we're not simply talking about Roswell, although the Roswell cases are a really good one. But there are almost certainly have been a number of other very, very good UFO cases that we've now, over the years, have been uncovering. I think the Roswell case is a good one, but there is Cape Girardeau in Missouri in 1941. There was the Aztec, New Mexico case of 1948, which was a case that was, I think a lot of people debunked it for many years, but I think has rightly been resurrected,
yes.
Resuscitated as a case by Scott and Suzanne Ramsey, who did excellent research on this. And there have been others. There's a very, I think, a reasonably good case that a UFO went down outside Las Vegas in 1962. The researcher Kevin Randall did some very good work on this, and I think it's very good stuff. There's other cases in the 1950s in the U.S. and out of the U.S. that appear to have been crash retrievals, and not all of them have the best or strongest evidence, but there's enough pointing to a lot of them that I think it's very likely to assume that, yes, there have been a number of these. And it's important to mention this because without the idea of a crash retrieval, it's very possible for a skeptic or an apologist for the government to say, well, maybe there's a phenomenon out there, but to talk about a conspiracy is ridiculous because the government just they're incompetent, but they're not diabolical the way you're saying. They just don't know what they're doing. And it's possible to make that argument if there's no evidence of actual physical contact or crash retrievals. But once you have a good case that military personnel have recovered tangible objects and bodies, and this does seem to be the case, then you can't just say, well, they're ignorantly, mindlessly denying a reality. Instead, they're actively covering it up, and it's an important reality that they're covering up. On top of that, any researcher who's been doing this long enough, myself included, have spoken to so many responsible military government people who have talked about genuine UFO encounters. So forget the crash retrievals for a moment. There's just been an overabundance of extremely well-documented UFO encounters that we have had since before the 1940s, frankly, but since the 40s for sure. So that's going on. And it's been very, very clearly documented in my work as well as other work that it's been a very strong concern by military agencies to keep this quiet. And they did a good job for a long time about keeping it quiet. But documents are out. You can read them. I can read them. Anyone listening can read them. They're from the Freedom of Information Act. They're not make-believe. They're legitimate. They're real. They have statements by General Nathan Twining in 1947 stating that the phenomenon is real, not visionary or fictitious. That's a direct quote from a man who later became Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, who wrote about these objects having extreme rates of climb and maneuverability and evasive action, and how they are circular or elliptical in shape, flat on bottom and domed on top. I mean, good grief. In 1947, what is flat on bottom and domed on top? We're talking about military reports. So now that was classified information at the time. It came out during our moment in American history when the Freedom of Information Act was actually worth something, and it was something new, and a lot of documents came out in the late 1970s. That was one of them. It is an undeniable document, and it's only one of many, many, many that prove, they don't suggest, they don't hint, but they prove that the United States classified world has been deeply interested. There's a memo from early 1949 in the FBI discussing how the matter of UFOs is considered top secret by intelligence officers of the U.S. military. And then talking onward in this particular memo about how there have been unbelievable sightings over sensitive American installations like the Atomic Energy Commission, nuclear plants at Los Alamos, for example. Or that's not a nuclear plant, but the Atomic Energy Commission installation at Los Alamos, which is a big deal. And there are nuclear facilities at Oak Ridge and in Hanford, state of Washington, that had overflights of incredible, UFOs all through the 50s, and we know about it. We know about it because, again, an accident of history. The Freedom of Information Act proved it by having certain documents released. There was an airspace violation that I think is one of the most interesting documents from 1950, back in the July of 1950, which talked about how objects round in form were being seen over the Hanford Atomic Energy Commission plant. These are America's most important facilities at the time. They were doing nuclear energy in an era where that was a brand new cutting-edge form of energy. The memo stated Air Force jets attempted to intercept with negative results. They talked about anti-aircraft battalions and radar units and Air Force fighter squadrons being alerted for this. Again, putting oneself into context in 1950 and knowing that this happened, you have to ask, good grief, what was going on? And that is only one of countless other documents that we have. So to answer your question, what does the government know? Well, they know enough. All right. People in the U.S. military and allied militaries and non-allied militaries like Russia and China, they know enough that this is a phenomenon that is beyond their control, that does what it does. They can't stop it. And that's the end of it. They just can't stop it. They've recovered some of these things. They don't want to tell the public about it. They've got their reasons, but we have our reasons as well for wanting to know the truth. And so that's where we're at.
Yeah, this is what's fascinating for me, Richard, is, 100 years ago or thereabouts, this planet lit up. Radio signals, television signals have now been emanating from this planet, going out at the speed of light for 100 years. That means planets that are 100 light years away are aware of us, right? If there is intelligent life there. If you cut that time in half, 50 years out, 50 years back, if they were traveling to us at the speed of light, let's say, now that whole 1947, 1950 wave, because 50 years prior to that, you have Edison and Marconi and Tesla doing freakish things at high voltages, right? Mm-hmm. and so this is taking off from Earth at the speed of light, heading out into the universe. We now have let them know our level of technology. Certainly, once they got here in the 1940s, 1950s, they found out that, Earth is, we're the hillbillies of the universe, right? We don't really have that kind of technology. We haven't visited the stars yet. We haven't visited our moon. We're not traveling off of the planet. We barely have V2 rockets at that point. But they certainly were aware of us. But there isn't a way to communicate. For them to communicate with us directly. So these were flybys. You know what I mean? They were observations.
Well, I think that's an interesting theory. There's other ways you could look at it. The fact is that there were UFO sightings prior not simply to the 1940s, but prior to the 20th century, and I think some pretty good ones, actually. So, I mean, my attitude is that we have been under observation for a very long time. I mean, since ancient times, probably.
Sure.
But it is, I mean, I wonder, just as you do, that, our technological explosion really in the 19th century, late 19th century, would have gotten some attention of other people. My feeling is, I think, our light radio waves and so on would be going out at the speed of light and so on. But I have a feeling that that there have to be end runs or loopholes around the speed of light limit. I really do believe this. And I'm not a physicist, so you could say, what does my opinion matter? But I do try to follow what qualified physicists say about this. And I know that there are a number of them who have explained why the speed of light might be in certain ways surmounted. Space-time is not simply what Isaac Newton said it was 300 years ago. It can be manipulated in one way or another. Gravity can manipulate it, and the speed at which you're going through space itself can manipulate time. And so I think that our physics have not yet caught up to the UFO phenomenon. And I think whoever these other beings are using technology that we don't yet have online, that we haven't figured out. So I don't think that they would need to get messages from Tesla or Edison, or see reruns of I Love Lucy, for that matter, to find out what we're doing. But I do think that our technological explosion would get their attention. I think that they would realize, as Stanton Friedman says, the kids have the matches now, and we got to keep an eye on them. And I do think, I mean, once human civilization got some serious technology by means of like mass weaponry, weapons that could really kill a lot of people, aircraft, missiles, nuclear weapons, and then going into the computer age. If there's any observing intelligence, and there are, that development of ours would have to get their attention. It would have to. Think of human civilization for thousands of years. If you were a medieval peasant in Europe, or a member of a Native American tribe, and or wherever you were, if you were out in China 1,000 years ago, and if you saw a UFO, what exactly could you do about it? Who could you talk to about it? That you probably couldn't write. All you had were oral history traditions of your tribe or your people. And so human beings' capability of dealing with and interacting with this phenomenon was extremely limited for almost all of our history, but that's not the case in the last 100 years. It's not at all. We're up in the air ourselves. We have weapons, and maybe we can't take them out in a fight, but maybe we can annoy them. We have the ability to detect them in ways that were not conceivable, electronically, for example. And so we got their attention since the 20th century. There's no question in my mind. And whoever they are, and I think there's several versions of them, we got their attention, and I think they're watching us very carefully. And I think we're a little bit more than hillbillies, actually. I think they may be intellectually superior to us in certain ways, I would imagine, but I don't know that they're superior to us in all kinds of ways. And I suspect that they would recognize that we're quite interesting and that we have a lot of potential, both positive and negative.
Well, hillbillies can be interesting. It's
Sure.
You got to look at it like this, though. We don't have the ability, well, allegedly, let's just say we don't have the ability to go to them. But they have the technology to come here to visit us. So if that is the case, their intelligence, whatever that is thousands, if not millions of years more developed than us. That's just simple math. And so them coming here 200-300 years ago, before electricity, there wouldn't be anything for them to electronically pick up, or communications, or there isn't anything there. So, we would be the hillbillies of the universe in that respect.
I agree with that in a sense. Like, we're not dealing with them as equals.
No.
And, people who talk about, well, let's establish relationships with them and join the Galactic Federation of Light or join them in some way or another. I think this is fantasy. These other beings do not, they may look kindly on us or not, but they're not going to see us as equals. And I don't think that there's any evidence really that they're openly communicating with us in a way that we can really gather. Now, there's claims that the U.S. black budget community, the breakaway group civilization, may have some ability limited to communicate with them. I remember years ago reading a book called Above Black by Dan Sherman, and that's an interesting book, and I don't think I disbelieve his claims, which is that he was part of a group to engage in communication with these other beings. Totally possible. But I don't think that they're actively working in an open communication with us because they may not be able to. Their brains may not work. I spoke with an abductee years ago who was actually someone featured in one of John Mack's books on abduction. And he was really interesting. And he said, look, my experience with these other beings, he was abducted by Greys, is that they're not like us. Their minds don't operate like our minds. And he said, I felt like they had to slow themselves down dramatically just to be able to communicate at all with me. And it was all telepathic. And he said furthermore that they, in his view, seemed to operate as a kind of hive mind where there was no privacy among any of their beings' thoughts, like they were all part of a collective thought process.
Right.
So if that's true, how are they going to be able to communicate with us? We have examples in Star Trek, like when the Borg tried to speak to the Enterprise through Captain Picard. But, that's Hollywood. How would they actually do it? I don't know. And I don't know if it's very easy for them.
Well,
how would it be for us to communicate with gorillas that we're studying in the forests of Africa? How would we communicate with them?
Well, if we just let the imagination go for a second and we start to look at the quantum side of things, or the ability, the non-locality or locality, the ability to affect something at vast distances instantaneously, and can thought travel that same way. And if there is that type of communication, like you're saying, of the hive mind, which I'm fully aware of that and believe that it's possible, that communication is everywhere, right? It's just everywhere. And so are there people on this planet that are able to tap into that vast communication network? Because it would be a technology that you and I wouldn't understand, but 10,000 years from now, Richard, we are not, as humans, we're not going to have these bodies. We're not going to have these meat sacks, right?
Well, let me jump in. I'll just say I believe that there are people who are able to tap into that. I'm a strong believer in psi phenomenon, remote viewing.
Right.
There are definitely individuals who have better abilities than the average person.
Right.
At tapping into things that are going on in other dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
I can't prove it as clearly scientifically as I would like, but there's an overwhelming amount of evidence for the reality of remote viewing. I'm engaged to a woman who's a first-rate remote viewer. I hope she doesn't mind me saying that, but people know this, and I've known a lot of other really first-rate remote viewers in my life, so I don't need to be convinced about it. So I think some of them can tap in. The question that we have, though, is how accurate are they all the time? Can people misread or misinterpret what they see? And is every claim that every person makes about their downloads and communications with other beings to be believed? I have to say the answer to that is no. Because for every legitimate person that I believe I've met a lot who I think are not legit or who are delusional, frankly. And so you're really coming down to a place where you have to decide on an individual basis, like who's legitimate. And it's hard to know because you're going on someone's claim that they cannot yet, we're not yet able to verify to a third party most of this stuff. So we're at a disadvantage here.
Well, and going back to what I brought up earlier about, what do they know? What do they know? What if there was going to be a tipping moment where they were forced into, and I'm talking about Washington and other world governments, where they are forced to directly address the UFO subject, whether it's the classic definition of disclosure or not, what would be that tipping point?
So I'm sorry, the tipping point of what would get us from
what would force
denial to disclosure?
Yeah, what would force the hand?
Well, I've speculated about this a lot. Certainly a sighting, a good sighting that's publicly recorded and by multiple people that is somehow able to get out into the public domain and get a discussion going that is not explainable. We need good recordings. We need good video and from multiple sources. And, despite the fact that on YouTube there are probably hundreds of fresh videos that come out every year, most are just not that interesting, or they're a little bit interesting, and if they're interesting, then there's not enough sources of recording something multiply. The problem that we face with video is simply that everyone knows it's easier and easier to fake video. So we need good video from multiple sources with good testimony that gets a conversation going that forces an agency to have to explain something. That would be one. Another could be a leak, the right kind of leak, not a Hail Mary leak like what we've been expecting. We seemingly expect these every year from different people who claim to have their inside sources, and then the sources simply disappear. I'm thinking of Tom DeLonge, who a year ago had his sources, high-level people, and I don't know where these people have gone. Now he's got something else that's happening, and it's not disclosure, whatever it is. So what we need is genuine, high-level, credible sources who are willing to go on the record, or failing that, a WikiLeaks type of event where something genuine leaks out that is damning information. The more I think about this, the more I think that is maybe the most likely scenario, that something is ripped out digitally and put out for the world to talk about. I think that's a possibility.
Let's take a break right here. I agree, though, with the WikiLeaks possibility, because that is out of their control. That's plain and simple. That is something that they couldn't control. Obviously, we know how effective that can be. Our guest tonight is Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Our guest tonight is Richard Bleepin' Dolan. And follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Richard, do you ever get tired of hearing that? Richard Bleepin' Dolan.
No, I love it, Jimmy. I love it.
It's
you're the only one who says it, but no, it's very nice. You can always say that.
Okay, good. I just hope that I'm not offending. I've got a couple of questions here that have popped up in Twitter, and one of them, this comes from Larry, and he says, does Mr. Dolan think that any world government has had contact or face-to-face meetings with aliens?
I don't know if they have. I don't have knowledge or evidence of that one way or the other. I do I think there's strong evidence that Russia has had a long-standing interest and connection to UFOs, just as the United States has. Every bit as detailed, every bit as many military encounters, and they've had their own crash retrievals as well. Russia definitely, I think there's reason to believe that the Russian government is just about as on top of this subject as the United States government. So it's possible that they have. The Chinese government is a harder one to discern, just because we really know a lot less. There's reason to believe that the Chinese military has had its own history of UFO encounters. The few Chinese researchers who've communicated with the West, I mean, they're really, in so many ways, still a very closed-off community, it seems to me. But the few who have communicated to the West at least have indicated that there are rumors of crash retrievals within the Chinese military. But I don't have any hard and fast information. So whether they're communicating, I don't know. And then as far as other governments, almost every other government is a subsidiary fully owned by the United States anyway. I mean, Britain has no independence. France, NATO, even Israel. These countries are under the U.S. thumb, and so they're not going to say boo. None of them, without the United States overseeing it all. You know, we're in an era now of post-Edward Snowden where we just know for a fact that the NSA is monitoring every single communication of every single foreign leader. from Angela Merkel of Germany's her cell phone to the former president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, and her entire ministry and cabinet. That's before the U.S. essentially had a soft coup to oust her. All of these national leaders, they're all monitored, and no one does anything or very, very little without the United States signing off on it.
I've got a few things that are coming in here, going back to communication through thought and your comments on that. And Nancy, she wanted to know some clarification. Are you saying that there is no credence to communication with ET through thought?
That is not what I said. What I said is that I believe it happens. I believe there are legitimate cases where it happens. And I also said I believe that there are many cases, because I've spoken to these people, where there's no credibility behind what they say. And so it comes down to deciding who's credible and who isn't, and that's a tricky issue.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible. I think, look, we have interesting minds and interesting brains that have capabilities that are a lot beyond the classical materialistic conception of what traditional scientists say reality is. We know this, but that's a long way off from saying that everyone who makes a claim is correct about it.
Yeah, right. Well, it's funny how I watch the ebb and flow of Twitter and the chat rooms, throughout the show, and what gets ignited into flames into a conversation, and telepathy and communication through the mind is something that this audience is very much interested in, and I just love it when the conversation kicks up. Like this question just came in via email. Please ask Richard, wouldn't telepathy be a plus? Imagine no more misunderstandings, whether between governments or individuals. Me, and I enjoyed your comment on that, but for me, I don't know if that's a good thing, man.
No. First of all, with respect to the person who wrote it, that's a very strong misunderstanding of why people fight each other and why they kill each other and why they steal. They don't steal and kill because they misunderstand each other. They steal because they're greedy. They steal because they want things. They steal because they want power. So it's not because like the U.S. is misunderstanding Russia these days that there's fights going on. That's nothing to do with it. It's because they lie and they want to get what they want. And so if there were telepathy, like, first of all, we're assuming it's perfect telepathy where there's never a misunderstanding telepathically. And of course, that's I don't believe that we have that capability. It's one thing to say we've got psi capabilities. It's another to say that we're infallible, or that the alien beings, for that matter, are infallible telepathically. People make mistakes, and that can happen telepathically as well as in our words. So I don't think that that's going to solve any problems. Sorry.
I know. I don't know if I want to know what you are thinking.
You don't. I don't want to know what you're thinking.
I don't, man.
And I don't want to know what people listening are thinking.
I don't want to know.
That's a bad road to go down.
That's a bad road, man, because I have some twisted, fun thoughts, man, but I don't need to share them with the world. And I mean, if you walk in, wouldn't it also be a noisy environment? Imagine 2 or 3 people in a room and that going on. But how about like a concert or a shopping mall? That would be a very congested, you wouldn't even be able to think.
Yeah, who would want that? I don't know about you, but I don't think I would want most people's thoughts near my mind. Right. And it's nothing personal, folks, but I just don't think I do. So one thing that Tracy and I do every night, we go into airplane mode. The phone goes away after a certain time, and that's it. So if I don't want to get phone calls after a certain time, I certainly don't want to hear anyone's thoughts.
Now, what do you think about, and let's look forward into 2018, because this disclosure in the D word is what has been talked about for the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Certainly a lot today, but there's another D word that is, it's drip, 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 right? Drip, drip, drip. The new D word.
I like that. our society is going through very, very radical changes, and sometimes it's easy for us to forget that because we're living it, but we are definitely going through radical changes, and all you have to do is step back 20 years and just see where we were 20 years ago and see where we are now in terms of our ability to communicate with each other in the nation, around the world. So no, we're radically transforming ourselves. And that ability to communicate globally has very much ramped up our discussion of the UFO phenomenon. It has invaded popular culture in ways that were not even the case in the 90s or in the 80s.
Right.
So I agree with that. And there is a definite cultural transformation that's happening. And I think that direction is going toward more openness about the UFO subjects. I think it is. So that'll happen. Whether that's going to translate into a disclosure is another question. I wrote a booklet on disclosure in the Trump era earlier this year. Trump was a new president at the time, but even then I could start to see, like, it was very obvious that he was essentially, whether he was the real deal as a candidate or not, he's obviously took on the almost totally the policies of Hillary Clinton. So he became Hillary Clinton by the spring of 2018 in terms of at least geopolitics, foreign policy. He was identical. Whereas a candidate, he was very different. But as a president, it just is proof, that you really can't do anything radically different when you get into the seat of power. They force you. I mean, if he was legitimately opposed to the national security policy, which he seemed to be as a candidate, he certainly isn't as a president. So everything, it's just more of the same. So I don't really think, I speculated that Trump was, a wild card enough, where the narcissism would be like his Teflon coating, would be the thing that saved him. In other words, here was a guy who withstood all the cultural shaming that was thrown at him for almost 2 years solid as a candidate. And it only seemed to make him stronger. And I thought, well, great, because that'll put him in the White House. And if he actually is interested in UFOs, and I was sure that he is interested in UFOs, and I'm still sure he is. I mean, the guy was a private citizen for his whole life. He wasn't obligated like a politician to just dismiss UFOs. And on top of that, he's very friendly with alternative radio. He was a good buddy of Alex Jones and a lot of other alternative radio people out there. So I thought, of all the major political figures we've had in the last lifetime, I thought this guy actually, for all of his ego, for all of his annoyances, could have been the president who actually could just say, hey, you know what? Here's a 2 a.m. tweet. Everyone knows aliens are real. You could almost see him doing that.
I could.
And I wondered if that would happen, but I don't think that's going to happen at all. I didn't even think it was going to happen back then, but I definitely don't now. I think he's been completely co-opted, taken over by the exact same national security crowd that Hillary Clinton was bringing in. I don't see any major differences, frankly. And
are you
he's Republican. So there's Republican things that he's doing that Republicans would do as opposed to what Democrats do. But in terms of any radical changes, I don't see anything.
Are you suggesting that the deep state that he has been outspoken about is now gotten that control that he resists?
My opinion is that is the case. I mean, they went right after him right out of the gate. They started with this whole Russia nonsense, and it is nonsense. And people who believe it just prove to me that they're ignorant about global politics. Russia is not the enemy. Sorry, it isn't. Russia did not rig our elections. Sorry, they didn't do that either. All of that is a canard. That's a fancy word for a lie. So, but it's being used politically to kneecap him. I mean, he said one of the most unforgivable things as a candidate, which was, let's be friends with Russia. Why not? How dare he? I mean, people forget these. Like, he actually said, let's try to have decent relationships with Russia. A totally reasonable thing to say, as a matter of fact. But what you're seeing is the deep state. That is the deep, deep intelligence community that's really running things behind the scenes, and they are real. They're not interested in friendship with Russia at all. They need a boogeyman. And Russia is the perfect one for them, because Russia does stand in the way of certain U.S. geopolitical goals, which is basically dominate all the oil, all the natural gas, dominate the natural gas supply to Europe, and much more. And so Russia isn't just rolling over like they did in the 90s when everyone was happy that the drunk named Boris Yeltsin was running the country.
Right.
Now they got a guy named Putin who's saying, no, we're not actually going to roll over. And so he has to be demonized. Trump had an idea that we could work with Russia. I think that was a smart idea, but that will never be allowed to happen, apparently. You can just see what's going on. They took out Michael Flynn right out of the gate over a spurious, ridiculous alleged connection with Russia, which is not true. And they've done the rest. They keep drip with the whole Russia nonsense. So there's no way. I mean, if he really... I think there might have been a chance early on in his presidency when he could have forthrightly stood up against this and defended people like Flynn, but he didn't do it. He rolled over. Maybe they frightened him. Maybe they. But the other thing about Trump, for however outspoken he was as a candidate, it was obvious he didn't know a lot in terms of global politics. In my opinion, just listening to the things he said. Whereas, Hillary Clinton certainly did know a lot, but she just happened to be evil to the core. Trump just seemed like he didn't know what he was talking about. And but he's just been totally checkmated. So I don't really see any leeway for him.
This is what I find interesting. If you turn back the table 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and some of our conversations that you and I had back then, and John Podesta and his famous tweet, and and how he was at that time the hope of the UFO community and disclosure and pushing this forward, and he knows something and he's upset that he didn't push this policy in the Obama administration, and here we are today. You can't even say Podesta's name in the UFO community now. I mean, he is so tarnished, and not only through WikiLeaks, but the Pizzagate and pedophilia and everything else.
Wow, you just went there.
But a
lot of people are not going in that direction, and they really want to dismiss all of that. And for my part, I have to say, I haven't spent the time and really thrown myself into that. And there's allegations. I went to Snopes on the whole Pizzagate thing. And the one thing I have to say, I mean, Snopes is a joke. So let's just put that right out there. Mm-hmm. But Snopes, while they said it's been debunked, I read their whole explanation for this, and I saw no debunking in their explanation whatsoever. Zero. So I'm like, where's your evidence if you're going to debunk it? This is claims, of course, of pedophilia at high levels of the power structure, and everyone knows that this goes on at high levels of power. It's been out there for generations. It's in Hollywood. It's in Washington. It's around the world. It's in London. It's in Europe. People in power they need excitement because everything else bores them, because they've got everything they want. So what do they want? They want forbidden fruit.
Right.
Clearly they do this. And they want things that most of us would find utterly revolting because it turns them on, because it's different. It's like a drug for them. There's been study after study and claim and witness after witness. It's out there. So whether the Pizzagate allegations are true or not, it wouldn't shock me if they were, but I don't know for a fact. But the Podesta family, and Podesta and his brother, I should say, have been implicated. So yeah, the UFO field, they want nothing to do with Podesta. I will say for my part, I was never on board the Podesta train, and I never felt that this guy was going to be a friend to disclosure. I just never. I mean, back in 2002 when he did I think it was 2002 or 2003, he did his press conference where he made a very forthright and proper statement about the UFO subject. I want to say this. He did. That was a good thing. And I wouldn't dispute that he's interested in UFOs. I'm sure he is. And that's intelligent because UFOs are a valid subject to be interested in. But we have to understand Podesta, like a lot of, was one of the most powerful people in Washington. He's not a neophyte. He's a seasoned political master. This guy was Bill Clinton's chief of staff. He was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. He was Barack Obama's transition chief. He knew everyone, knows everyone. And so for him just to go willy-nilly and say, oh, yeah, we need disclosure, what exactly would prompt him to say that? I wondered again and again. I mean, Podesta would have to know that genuine disclosure would be the most revolutionary, earth-shattering, apple cart upsetting statement you could imagine. And it would be something that would not be easy to contain, particularly for his candidate, Hillary Clinton. To think that they would be able to get on top of disclosure and manage it and use it to win. The only reason I believe Podesta did encourage Hillary Clinton to talk about UFOs during the campaign, and he did, was because he realized intelligently that UFO subject isn't it's not the third rail, that's the kiss of death, as it were, for a politician. Like it was even 10 years ago for Dennis Kucinich back in 2008, where he was merely a UFO witness, and they used that to destroy him.
In a couple of days.
Oh, it was just horrible.
Horrible.
I mean, really terrible. And Kucinich was a good man and was a genuine witness who had two other people with him, by the way, when he saw, I think it was a black triangle back in the early 1980s on the property of Shirley MacLaine, his friend. Anyway, the point is that Podesta, I think, realized in the campaign of 2016 that the public is in a different place, and the UFOs have a certain cool factor attached to them. And by talking about UFOs in a superficial way, which is all Hillary ever did, that maybe there's a UFO vote out there. And of course, they were lucky because they were able to bring up the UFO subject because they knew the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN would never, ever, ever call them out for it, would never attack them for it. And they didn't. The New York Times, which always makes fun of UFOs, wrote a puff piece on Hillary and UFOs, the one thing that when they mentioned it during the campaign, and they just wouldn't attack her. Could you imagine if Trump had talked about UFOs as the candidate? New York Times would have been all over him. But they just let Hillary do it. So I think Podesta was smart. He knew they had the media in their pocket for the most part, other than Fox. They had 95% of the U.S. media completely owned by them. And so they could afford to broach the UFO subject knowing that there is a bit of a vote out there, a bit of a market, and maybe they tapped into some of it.
Well, and you brought up DeLong before the break, and to go back and visit this, because when everything started to now, I think what DeLong is trying to do is cool. I appreciate that, and if I was in his position, if I could put that together, I would do the very same thing that he is doing, no doubt. But back then, when the WikiLeaks dump happened and the emails hit, and DeLong was exposed, in writing to Podesta about UFOs, when that outing happened, and then the Pizzagate thing happened, and then, Podesta was thrown out of the UFO community very, very quickly. Suddenly, DeLong, the one thing that propped him up with the To the Stars and this Podesta connection, he distanced himself when he did the live internet press briefing last month. I'm talking about DeLong and To the Stars, who was missing. Podesta, he's not there. He's not part of it, and he isn't spoken about now as well. And I just think it speaks volumes how quickly something can turn.
Well, it was never clear to me that Podesta was fully on board anyway. If you go through the WikiLeaks releases, there's nothing by Podesta that's out there. There's like no statements that we have of Podesta saying, oh my God, this is amazing stuff. Well done. I mean, what we have is we know that DeLong was in communication with Podesta. We know that he had a Google Hangout with Podesta along with some of his people like McCaslin and the other two gentlemen, Boeing, the Lockheed gentleman and NORAD. I've got them at the tip of my tongue. Anyway, the thing is he reached out to Podesta. I don't know how much Podesta reached out to him. It's not clear to me that this was any of Podesta's initiative. So Personally, I don't know how much on board Podesta was ever with what Tom DeLonge was doing. His whole To the Stars Academy, I mean, people have tried criticizing this as saying, oh, it's just marketing. It's just trying to make money. Well, let him make money. People are allowed to make money, and they're even allowed to make money in the UFO field. Just this is not disclosure. I don't know what his business plan. It makes no sense to me. How are you going to make money? How are you going to raise enough money to compete with Lockheed Skunkworks and create UFO tech? I have no idea how he thinks he's going to do that. He's got some very interesting, brilliant people on board, but I have not the slightest clue how he thinks he's going to be able to generate money with a venture that's half science and half entertainment. What's that all about? I don't know. So the business model makes no sense to me. The idea of wanting to get the UFO subject out there, raise consciousness with it, yes. Create good quality videos. Do it. Create intelligent pieces of information for people to grab onto with the UFO subject. I think we need that. And if he can do that, then more power to him.
He had said, this was about 2-3 weeks ago, that he was getting ready to release, and I talked to Peter Levenda last week on Coast to Coast about this, that there were a bunch of videos that he was about to release that had not been seen by the public before. I'm still waiting for those. Did you hear about this? And if he does release, I mean, how does that affect you? Do you think that there would be something revolutionary to be released?
Well, I didn't know about it. So videos that will be released by whom and saying what? Do
by
we know
Tom.
Yeah,
Tom is in possession of videos that have not been seen in the public or released to the public with UFOs.
Well, I have a lot of respect for Peter Levenda. I know him personally, and I think very highly of Peter. So I trust his judgment. So I guess all I would say is if Peter Levenda is saying that he's got reason to think that Tom DeLonge has got something interesting, then sure, I'd like to know what it is. The only thing is that, and I mean, I met Tom DeLonge, and I have no reason to think anything bad of him. But, you know, he's had this before. He's said a number of times before about having a major announcement, major disclosure, major this. And, you know, frankly, nothing has happened. Nothing. So my attitude is I'll see it when I see it. I'll believe it when it's out there. And until then, you know, our field is so filled with anticipation. And it's almost like it's a marketing strategy. Like everyone's being encouraged to find the next big thing to throw out to the public because we got to keep it stirring the pot. And I resist this. And let me just say, I'm going to take a minute here and mention to you, I don't think you know this, and I haven't said this to many people. I myself am in the process of doing a redesign of my entire presence in the UFO community. How so? I'm developing a tremendous amount of new and fresh content for a revamped website, and that's going to be available I expect before the year is out. There's going to be a lot of new stuff that I'll be offering. So I myself I'm very aware of the need to provide information to a market that is hungry for information on UFOs. But what I don't want to do, I don't like getting into the habit of like keeping people dangling. Like, oh, here's a little treat I'm going to throw out at you. It's just wait for it. This is going to be the new revelation.
Right.
I don't like when I see that happening, and it happens so much in this field. And I'm afraid that Tom DeLonge's doing it too. And he'd better deliver. If he's got some seriously good videos, then deliver the damn videos and let us look at it, and we can decide what's important about it.
And speaking of that, Richard's going to reveal this next week. I'm just kidding, Richard. Just kidding. Just kidding. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. More with Richard right after this short break. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Richard at Rich Dolan. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, the planets. Our guest tonight is Richard Dolan. And now I'm going to have some fun with Richard here. Okay, now, on this last segment, Richard, I'm going to go to in a couple of zones where you and I have never gone before. So, right. Don't freak out. Let's have some fun. But
so far, so I have to tell you, I'm enjoying tonight.
Yeah, we always have great conversations. That's the best thing. One day I will tape secretly one of our conversations that we have privately and run that on the air. So listen, is this, what if, let's speculate in an in Superman's bizarro world, right? Mm-hmm. Hillary gets elected and discloses the UFO, just goes full on. Does she get a pass card on being the evil witch?
Sure, yeah. I mean, well, she would get. She has to get props. Any president who would do that would definitely be doing a service for humankind. Now, the only thing that we'd have to keep in mind is, what is going on with the disclosure. So, is it a disclosure with a purpose? And the purpose is probably not going to be a purely humanitarian philanthropic purpose. So we've got to find out what's going on. And think about, Tom DeLonge. We were just talking about him and his book Secret Machines, and the argument essentially that the secrecy is actually being kept by really good people who have got our best interests in mind. They're protecting us from something that's really dangerous and scary. And that's a conclusion that I don't agree with. I think that I strongly disagree with it. Looking at the history of secrecy, I think I'm in a good position to disagree here. The secrecy has taken on a life of its own that is positively evil, and that has gone against the very fiber of what it means to be a free citizen of a republic. It's betrayed what we are, and a lot of people have gained a lot of power and profit as a result of it. So I guess what I'm saying is, my fear would be that any politician would make a disclosure and then spin it in such a way as to say, well, we're doing this for your protection. We did this for your protection, and hope that's okay. And, and then, of course, how much are they going to be disclosing and how much are they really going to be willing to talk about? The fact that we have any disclosure at all is going to be a good thing, because that gets the conversation moving. So I do want to make it clear that I would be happy about that, but very few. I can't imagine a disclosure that's going to be a completely truthful one. I think it's going to be filled with deception and lies and spin, just like any other political act.
You're in Boulder, Colorado. You're taping the next season of your series. You're in Boulder. Flying saucer lands, alien steps off. He comes up to you and says, "Take me to a smoke shop." Do you go and smoke weed with the aliens?
Oh, hell yes.
There you go.
Are you kidding me? If an extraterrestrial alien says to you, "Let's smoke weed," you say, "Yes, let us smoke weed." That's any person's job would be to smoke lots of ganj with any extraterrestrial that asks.
See everybody. See, that's the real Richard Dolan right there.
We're talking about interstellar relations here. This is important.
You got to take one for the team.
It would be your duty.
Yeah.
It would be your duty.
Absolutely. The flat Earth. The flat Earth, Richard. What is going on here? Why are so many buying into flat Earth theory, and why hasn't it gone away?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's I don't even know how to answer that, honestly. It isn't, to my mind, it is one of the most ludicrous, ridiculous things that I have ever heard, like really ever heard. And I've heard a lot of out there things, and I do have a very open mind, I like to think. I don't understand it. I don't understand why there are people who actually are real flat earthers, but they are. They're actually out there, and they've got their own theory about the conspiracy of all the satellites and how satellites are not accurately providing information somehow. This is absurd. I mean, I don't know what to say. Read the history of Ferdinand Magellan, how he sailed around the world. How else do we have telecommunications that can function from New York to Beijing, or New York to Moscow, or New York to Sydney, Australia? These are predicated on very sophisticated mathematics and physics that would not work. They're all predicated on the idea of a spherical Earth that is roughly 25,000 miles in diameter, that has a certain kind of electromagnetic casing around it, and all of the other things. They don't work any other way. I don't understand these people.
How has it lasted this long? I don't understand. I really thought, Richard, I swear, and I have been vocal about this. I have posted in social media enough about this that I thought it was going to be passé and we would be able to joke about it. You know, flat Earth was so last year. Remember
there's the Mandela effect. That's another one. People get really worked up over this idea, and it's all based on a complete misunderstanding of Nelson Mandela to begin with. That's the funny part of it.
Wait. Mandela effect is real.
No, Mandela effect is not real.
Oh, no, Richard.
So the Mandela effect is based on an idea. First of all, this woman who knows no history, clearly.
Right.
Believed that she had heard, oh my God, I heard Nelson Mandela had died in prison. Wrong. I guarantee you, I would bet any amount of money she was thinking of Stephen Biko, who, by the way, they wrote a song about him, Peter Gabriel, great song. Stephen Biko was a South African activist who was beaten to death in a prison cell in the late 1970s. And he did get some attention, and it was a very famous case. So this lady, like everyone else who doesn't know any history or any politics or anything, has this idea that, oh, yeah, but I heard Nelson Mandela died in prison. No, that was Biko. So out of that complete misapprehension,
right,
she creates this phony phenomenon, which the only examples, I mean, I wasted hours of my life listening to Mandela effect claims on YouTube.
Right.
All the examples are from movies. Like,
some are.
Seriously.
Some are. No.
90% of them.
I know.
I mean, if that's where we're going, then give it up.
I know. Okay. But it just messes with my head. There are a couple of things that I have memories of that are incorrect today, and it bothers me. And I'll give you an example. Let me quiz you. This has nothing to do with the movies. Forget about that.
Episode of Three's Company.
No, yeah, right. No, let's not go there. But you went to college, so that means you enjoyed ramen noodles, correct? Right?
Actually, I did not do ramen noodles when I was in college.
Okay, well, now I'm not buying your stuff.
Maybe a little later in grad school.
But you remember cup of noodles, right? In the styrofoam cup?
I remember there was a cup of noodles.
Right. Cup of noodles. It's not.
So, yeah.
It's not called cup of noodles.
Okay, what is it called?
It's called cup noodles. There was never an O there. And
well, maybe I don't know.
I know.
Why is this important?
I'm just saying. I remember cup O noodles, and I ate the crap out of those when I was a kid, right? And to find out that it's cup noodles, it doesn't even roll off the tongue correctly. It just messes with my head.
It all wrong. I agree.
It messes with my head. I don't know where that's coming from.
Break out my old typewriter and write a letter to the president of cup noodles.
So it's
register my disapproval and complaint.
Yeah, it's things like that. When I go and I look at this Mandela effect thing, man. I'll give you another example. Something else that just messes with me. The original shuttle crash, right? That original crash, Challenger.
Challenger?
Yes. In what year? Do you remember where you were when that happened?
I do, actually, yes.
Okay. So, what
1986.
Year? What year was it?
It was in February 1986.
February 1986. You feel confident about that? You feel pretty strong?
Yes, I do.
Really?
When are you telling me it happened?
What if I said it was January 85?
No, that is not the case. It didn't happen in January 85.
Really?
Why do you think it happened in January 85?
Well, because my band that I had back then, right, had a singer in it that I used to drive to work. And he was only in the band. It was January 1986. He was in the band in 1985 for 3 months. And I remember I had to drive him to work because he didn't have a car, and I needed him to pay his rent. And so I come back after dropping him off, and I'm watching television, 8 o'clock in the morning, and the accident happened. So this is one of my memories
All right, so you're telling me you remember this happening in January 85.
When I was told it was 1986, and I'm going back thinking about my life in 1986.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I remember when the Challenger happened. In January of 85, I know where I was living. I just graduated from Alfred University in upstate New York the month before that. And I was living at home on Long Island with my mother in January 1985. When the Challenger blew up a little over a year later, in February of 86, I was in Rochester, New York, and I know exactly where I was living. And I remembered seeing I didn't see it live. I caught it like minutes later on the news. But I remembered that day, absolutely. And I was not on Long Island. I was in Rochester, which is where I was supposed to be in 1986. And so I have had no other memory.
Yeah, and
I don't understand how you can think that it was January. I think you got your dates wrong.
Yeah, it's messing with me because
I think you need seriously go back over your personal records and your photographs and all of the other things, and really put yourself back into that time. And I believe you're going to have this moment. You're going to say, "Oh, damn, it really was 1986."
Yeah, and it was long enough ago that maybe I've just remembered this wrong over the years. So now it is, it's embedded, and I can't get the wrong memory out. I can't overwrite those sectors of the hard drive. But
it's interesting that you think. I mean, our memories aren't infallible.
No.
That's the thing about them, and we don't always remember things the way that we do, but the way that we think we do. And I suspect that's what happened. I think a lot of this Mandela effect is simply a case of people, misremembering things or not knowing their history, and then convincing themselves that somehow they've slipped into an alternate reality.
And
I just don't believe it.
And when we talk, you don't think that it is possible? Are you dismissing that parallel worlds and the multi-world theory? That part is that is definitely a real situation. Quantum theory has proven
it's not definitely a real situation. It is a speculated reality by many leading physicists, and it could be true that we live in a multiverse, multi-universes. We don't know that. I just feel like this is another case of we take things as gospel. We take like these really cool ideas that circulate for a long enough period of time, and then we just say, oh, well, it's obviously the case. And we don't know that it's obviously the case. It could be the case. I just watched a whole series of Fringe, which is awesome, by the way.
Love it.
And they're dealing with alternate universes, and it was super cool. And maybe that's the case. And I'll go further. I do believe that there are beings that can phase into and phase out of our, let's call it our reality. Now, where are they when they're not here? Is that another dimension? Well, okay, sure. I don't really know how to understand what another dimension is, and maybe most people can't either, but let's say that there's other dimensions out there. So I'm not saying it's not possible, and I'm not saying that a Mandela effect is impossible off the top of my head. I'm just saying, dude, I have spent way too much time and too much of my life that I'll never get back listening to the most dumbass Mandela effect explanations that I can imagine. And I'm like, just give it up. Find something else that's more interesting.
I know.
To dig your teeth in.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah. And
hope I'm not offending anyone.
Hey, you just I know, right? You just never know. And when we talk about the possibility of interdimensional interactions with ET or crafts and the possibility of things phasing in and out of our vision, when I say phasing, coming into our frequency so we can see it for a second and then it changes its frequency and it's gone. It's still there. We just don't see it. There's probably so many things around us right now that are walking and in our right now next to you in the room that you are in right now. There could be something right there You just can't see it. It's on another frequency.
Well, there are literally 2 million inputs into our sensory perception at this very moment, every moment. You have 2 million sensory inputs, of which your brain can only make sense of, I think, 40,000, which is actually a lot. So, but that means like 98% or whatever it is of all the stuff that's around us, our brains ignore because we have to, because we would go insane.
Overload.
If we were to deal with all of it. We couldn't handle it. So we have to. So by our very nature, we are restricting reality to an incredible extent when you think about it. In that sense, we're really very severely filtering reality. So there's a lot going on around us, without a doubt. And I often like to think of like fish in a pond. And, fish in a pond, they don't even know that they're in water, much less that there's air outside of the water, or that there's land, or that there's stars in the sky. And I mean, because they're fish, right? And someone goes into that pond and they can see the little fish, and the fish are like, I don't even know what that is. But that's like us. We're fish in our pond. We have our pond is our space-time reality. And that's what we're used to. But what if there are entities, beings, that just like we can go into a fish pond, they can come into our little fish pond, our little space-time reality, and then leave it. So maybe because we're a little more aware than little fish, we can perceive that there's someone entering our reality, but maybe we can't really understand what they're doing. And then they just leave our reality because they've got mastery over space and time in a way that we don't. I could easily see that being the case. In fact, I believe that is the case. So, so as far as
well, I'll give you an example of that, and for the audience, Richard and I, we were having a party in Joshua Tree. This is 2 years ago. And we were talking about night vision and seeing something in the sky, and we had Mike Barra was there, being, the bump on the log and whatever. And so we were like, okay, wouldn't it be cool if something just appeared? And so this is for the audience. Richard and I and Barra walk out into this little parking lot area in front of the party. We look up in the sky, and at that moment, as if on cue, right, Richard? On cue, yes. Right above us, this thing lights up and starts moving to our right. And it wasn't very high in the sky either. It wasn't like it was satellite high. It's a few thousand feet in the air, maybe, I don't know, a mile up in the sky. But it lights up. Right. And takes off in a straight line at a pretty good clip, too, as well. And
it was a very unusual object. I have to agree with you completely. It wasn't like an ordinary aircraft, in my opinion, as well as in yours. It was really interesting.
Again, could that be some type of interdimensional thing? Because it wasn't there, and then all of a sudden the thing lights up. And I know it sounds crazy to the audience hearing you and I talk about it in these terms, but I don't have any other way to describe it except for how it happened. And so this white ball, I guess we could call it that, it lights up and it takes off, and we're watching it in night vision, and you and I and Barra were all trying to figure out what we were looking at. Now, right. How do you rationalize that in your Richard Dolan pragmatic black and white historian college professor mind?
Well, I'm not really a black and white kind of person. There's a lot of gray area and a lot of shades in the world that I live in, to be honest with you. Listen, I think it's entirely possible that these objects react to our minds. Almost 20 years ago, I had a UFO sighting. I've talked about it many times with my son, who was then 3 years old, in front of my house. And I believed then, and I believe now, that thing somehow got into my head. I believed it. It seemed like it. I remembered watching this incredibly bright object in the sky, holding my 3-year-old son's hand in front of my house, thinking that's the brightest thing I've ever seen. And at first I thought, my conscious mind was thinking it was just a highly reflective aircraft, but really reflective, what could it be? And then this thought entered my mind. That's the only way I can put it. And that thought was, don't look away. You'll never see this again. And that thought had no logic to it, because there was nowhere that object could hide. It was a completely blue sky. And even if it lost its reflection, it would still be very visible to me. But I had this idea, don't look away, don't look away, don't look away. I had to look away for a second to talk to my son for 1 second. And when I turned back, it was just gone. And I mean, that's not nearly as interesting a sighting as countless others that people have, but it's just one of countless examples of these objects somehow like seemingly interacting with our mind. I've studied many, many cases of UFO sightings where people have a strong reason to argue that these objects were into their head somehow. And there's like a telepathic connection. This is a real thing. So did it happen to us? Sure, it could have happened to us.
And it did.
I don't know how that's happened in terms of our physics, but it does seem that it's totally possible.
I want to thank you again for coming on tonight and for hanging out with us on a week that is busy for all of us, and it's Thanksgiving week. When is the book coming out? Let's address that really quick.
False Flag book. I am pretty certain will be out in the early half of 2018. So I am working on it. It's looking good. The writing I'm satisfied with a lot of it. There's good research in there, and I think people will find it very interesting. And this is a book, I should say, that is the first ever real history of false flags as a phenomenon. And in other words, actions in which governments or agencies do something terrible, like kill people or blow up things or worse, and then blame it on other groups for political gain. That's a false flag, and there's a lot of it. And I'm doing a history of false flags, an analytical history of that, which indicates how this phenomenon has really changed and mutated. It's like a mutating virus in our own era, and today they're ever more sophisticated. So that's the first half of 2018. I am doing the website overhaul. I'm about to provide massive new content for the public, and so stay tuned for that. Publishing books on Richard Dolan Press by some other interesting authors. Mike Cleland is about to do a sequel to The Messengers, which is a fascinating book, all on owls and synchronicity. A lot of interest in that. And I might bang out a booklet or two in the next month or so as well.
Are you speaking?
Not until – no, I'm not doing any engagements for the rest of this year. I've done some local talks here in Rochester, but I'll be in Phoenix, not for the International Congress. They seem to want me every other year, so I won't be there. But I will be speaking at Phoenix MUFON and in Sedona I think that's in February of 2018. So I'll be there, and I got a whole bunch of things going on after that. I'll be in the Ozark conference in Northwest Arkansas, and then Tracy and I will be in Australia with Catherine Austin Fitz, one of the great ladies of our era,
right?
In Uluru, in the middle of Australia, and then I'll be at Contact in the Desert later in the year, in Toronto in June, and after that I lose track.
There you go. Thank you so much. Oh! Before I say goodnight, is there going to be a season 2 with False Flags and Gaia?
Thanks for asking. I don't think so. They haven't actually asked for that. The thing about the False Flag show, and this is. It was kind of an anomaly for Gaia. They really don't like to do political things, and that show was very political. And it's certainly possible that I will do more work with them. I mean, I've got a good relationship with a lot of the folks over there. I'd be happy to consider another project, and there's a few that we've talked about. But I don't know about a season 2 for False Flags. I will point out that series was the only one I think that they've ever had that was actually scripted out, like really written out and then hosted by the person who wrote it. I took a lot of time. I created an actual like a story, a historical creation, and right. I was very happy with how that played out for them.
Yeah, your thing that you did, I did see it. Your for the season premiere of the Secret Space Program series that they were doing, and the one on JFK. That was really, 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 really well done. That was pretty compelling. That was.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
That was really well done. Well, thank you so much, Richard, and have a great. Give our best to Tracy, and just have a great, safe, and fun Thanksgiving. Thank you so much.
Thanks. It was a pleasure, Jimmy, and hey to all the Fadernauts.
There you go. Thank you so much, Richard. Now go get some sleep.
Yes, sir.
I'll talk to you. Richard Dolan, everybody. Thank you so much, Richard. Great conversation tonight, and. It's just so much fun when he comes on Fade to Black. Now, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. RichardDolanPress.com. And you can, when you go to the website, you'll see he's prepping up for some big things. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be back with your phone calls next.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Thank you, Richard Dolan. Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Great conversation. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. There you go. That's a special events. Opened up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. I'm grabbing phone calls now. Okay. And you can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Very simple. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. And phone lines are open. Let's go. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? You're live. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you're live right now.
Oh, hey, how's it going? Did you read the tweet that I sent you a minute ago about cup noodles?
Yeah. Oh, I did see that. Yeah, that they changed the name in 1993.
Yeah, so I guess Richard was right. The Mandela effect isn't real.
It's fun to contemplate. It still messes with my head, man. It really does.
Yeah, I was just like you, man. I was like, man, they were called cup of noodles, like, and then I looked it up and I saw that they changed the name in '93. So I just thought I'd let you know you weren't crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's reassuring, but I know what my mind was. You know that it was definitely cup o noodles, and when there
was an O in there.
Yeah, so I'm not crazy. What's your name?
Chip.
Hey, Chip, thank you for the phone call, my friend, and thank you for posting that.
No problem, man. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, he's absolutely right. He posted they changed the name in 1993, and when I was looking at all of the images of cup noodles, and I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm not crazy. I can't be. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Fallon.
This is who?
This is Fallon.
Fallon, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
And what's on your mind tonight?
Okay, well, I'm calling about my favorite Mandela effect because I can't figure this one out, and I think it's a real one. Our position in the galaxy, like our solar system's position in the galaxy.
Right.
When I was a kid, it was always taught to us that we were on the outer edge, like in the backwater, is what Carl Sagan would say.
Right.
And so we were in the Sagittarius arm, and there's even video clips of Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about being in the Sagittarius arm and Carl Sagan talking about being in the Sagittarius arm. But now we're like much more in the center. We're in Orion's spur.
Right.
And there's no record. It's not like they said, okay, well, we updated, our tools and recalibrated, and now with our new technology, we realize we're in a different place, and so we've updated that. Now it's just we've always been in Orion's spur. But there's video of Carl Sagan talking about being on the outer edge in the Sagittarius arm, and same for Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't think those two most famous astronomers would get it wrong.
What do you make of that, though? Because I remember the same thing. Whenever they showed the Milky Way, which, by the way, how could they have a photograph of the Milky Way?
Yeah.
Right. I've always tripped on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, that we were on the outside of it, and now we are apparently in the middle of it, or closer to the mucky muck of the middle of the Milky Way. Could they have gotten it all wrong? Are they just...
Well, they could have, but they haven't said that. They haven't said that, we used to think that we were in the Sagittarius arm, but now we've, like I said, recalibrated our, with our better technology now than we had 20 years ago, and we figured out that we're actually off by 200,000 light years, or whatever the calculation is.
Right. Well, and what do you think about Richard's comments? Because Richard's a smart guy. Right, and he's not fooled, but yet he is open-minded as anybody can get. But when we started to talk about the Mandela effect, he shut that down pretty quick. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I really noticed that with people that are even open-minded. Like my dad, I asked him about how many people were in Kennedy's car when he was assassinated, and my dad was a big JFK assassination buff,
right?
And he said 4. And then when I showed him that there were actually 6 people in, he quickly changed and then said, well, I guess I was wrong. I guess it's always been 6. And, he was quite surprised to see it. But at the same time, he was forced to change what he thought he knew really quickly. So,
yeah.
I think it just questions people. I think it just changes people's perception so much that they are forced to think that they were wrong, even though...
Wow, that's funny that your dad was so easy to just go, okay, well, I guess I'm wrong. Me, I stayed awake for about 4 days after I found out that there was 6 in the car. That happened on the air, too. That happened on the air. Somebody did that to me live during the show. Fallon, thank you for the phone call.
Oh, yeah. Have a great night. Take
Yeah,
care.
you too. Thank you for the phone call. Yeah, that's it. Oh, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? You're live.
Hello.
Yes, you're live right now.
Hi, my name is Jane.
Hi, Jane.
And hi. And I'm a first-time caller to you, but I've been following you for a long time. I was concerned about John Podesta, and I think that he was using his disclosure to possibly deflect from the other things that were going on with him. What do you think?
Well, okay, and that's a possibility, sure. And then you can take the exact opposite of what you just said, and this is what I mean. If you take the exact opposite of that, that maybe there were powers in play out there that wanted to shut Podesta down because he was so vocal about UFOs. And they used, how do you bring down somebody really, really quick? Well, child porn, pedophilia, and that's it. And it may be true that he is part of this too as well. But if you want to silence somebody or discredit somebody, you certainly, that's an effective way of going about it, don't you think?
Well, absolutely. I definitely think that there's just things going on with him. And I'm very concerned about him still being where he's at. But it'll be exciting to see what goes on for 2018, no doubt. And I just wanted to tell you that January of 1985 is what I also remember. If your Mandela effect is of any truth at all, when the Challenger
I
went
know.
down.
It messes with me. I mean, I know what my memory is on that. So there you go.
Very well. And absolutely January of 1985.
Thank you so much, Jane, for the phone call.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah,
thank you. Bye-bye.
And don't be a stranger. We love first-time callers here on Fade to Black. And now let's stay on this. The whole January 85 thing, I just know what my memory is. This isn't anything that I'm creating. It's just my memory. That's all. Hi. Oh, whoa. You're live right now.
Oh, hey, Jimmy.
Yes.
My name's Johnny. First-time caller. I got a question. I was wondering if you were going to be at some point doing another special episode focused around Bill Cooper at some point.
Oh man, that's a great question. I have the answer. The short answer is yes. I have reached out. To take it to the next level. I want to get on the show. The two producers that were working with him and that were at the scene. And I had a conversation with them, and they didn't want to come on the show and talk about the day that he was shot. And I said, yeah, of course, we don't have to do that. I want to talk about other things and the life of Bill Cooper.
I'd certainly be more interested in hearing more about the stuff that he talked about than the day that he died.
Yeah, absolutely, John, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you're bringing that up because I think it's very important.
Yeah. I just heard your episode like a couple months ago and noted it was like a year ago today almost. And I just wanted to follow up on that.
Thank you so much, John. And I don't know where John is right now, but John, if you're listening to me, I think John is at a shopping mall or something. But let's stay on the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Larry from Ohio.
Hi, Larry from Ohio. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm on vacation this week, and I get to actually listen and watch your show.
Yeah, and there's nothing like Thanksgiving week. Not only for me, but for the country, and apparently for you too as well. So thank you for hanging out with us on this week.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for reading my tweet earlier and asking Mr. Dolan about the whether or not he thought any world government had contact with aliens or had face-to-face meetings with them.
Oh, that was you. Okay. Yeah, absolutely, man. And look, it shows you that I do pay attention.
I really love your show, man. I found it by accident on iHeartRadio there about a year ago, and I listen to it as much as I can.
What part of Ohio are you in?
I'm in Granville, Ohio, which is close to Columbus.
Okay, there you go. You know, my parents were in Gahanna. You know where that is.
Oh, yeah. I'm about 15 minutes from there.
There you go. Yeah, they don't live there anymore, but I've spent a lot of time in Gahanna. Love Ohio. All right, Larry. Well, thank you so much. You got your plans ready for Thursday? You guys good to go?
Yeah, we're going to go see the Justice League.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you know, and before I let you go, let me live vicariously through you for a moment. There is nothing like, now remember, we live we're in Los Angeles now, and we have those extreme parts of the country, but middle America, I was born in Chicago, middle America, the Thanksgiving dinner, what is on your table? Give me the list.
Well, this year we're going to Bob Evans. So.
Oh, well, you know what? That's Midwestern right there. So you're not going to do Thanksgiving dinner at home. You're going to save the cooking and the dishes for another time, and you're going to go to Bob Evans.
Yeah, well, the kids are grown, and they're doing their own thing. So my wife and I are just going to go to the movies and then go to Bob Evans with her dad.
Nothing wrong with that, man. You know, I'm going to trip you out, Larry. We don't have Bob Evans out here.
Really?
I see you're tripping. It doesn't even sound right, does it?
No, but you do have In-N-Out Burger, and I love that place.
We got In-N-Out Burger, but we don't have Bob Evans. We don't have Cracker Barrel. We don't have Waffle House. We don't have Perkins. We don't have all of the and what's that? What's the chili place? What's it called? Skyline Chili. We don't have Skyline Chili, man. We just got a Steak and Shake, though, here in Burbank. Oh, man, I miss Steak and Shake. And it tastes the same as it does in Indianapolis, which blew my mind. But, yeah, we don't have Skyline Chili. We don't have any of that stuff out here. It just doesn't exist.
Well, you still have In-N-Out, though, man. I wish we had those around here.
I know. When my family comes in from out of state, that's the first thing we do at LAX, pick them up at the airport, straight to In-N-Out Burger. I mean, that's it. We go straight there. Thank you so much, Larry. And you guys have a great, safe, and fun Thanksgiving.
You too, man, and thanks for everything that you do.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. Really appreciate it. Skyline Chili. That I like Steak and Shake chili too as well, but Skyline Chili, man, I miss the Midwest. I really do. When the audience listening to me right now, they're laughing. They don't understand what I am trying to say. Here in Los Angeles, you don't drive down the street and see the restaurants that you have throughout the rest of the country. You can drive through and around these great cities, Cincinnati, Columbus, Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, Memphis, Charlotte. I could go on and on and on. All these great cities. And you drive around and you have these restaurants, one after another. We don't have any of that out here. It just doesn't exist. It's really, really trippy. Now, think about that. Talking about Bob Evans or Cracker Barrel, they don't exist. Perkins, Skyline Chili. No, no. Yeah, we do have In-N-Out. My other favorite, Tommy's Burgers. We do. We've got those. But no, by and large, we don't have that restaurant selection that you guys have in the Midwest. The Italian restaurants. No, we just don't have it. We have Olive Garden out here, right? Which is like no, there's no White Castles. Lawrence just posted. There's no White Castles. Think about that. There's a Cracker Barrel in Victorville. Is that true? Nurse Nancy, seriously, there's a Cracker Barrel in Victorville. I did not know that. But yeah, we don't have White Castles. You know what? I'm going to freak it out. Yeah, they call it the Heartland for a reason. Rick just tweeted. White Castle out here, California's first Cracker Barrel is coming to Greater Los Angeles. Is that true? K28 just posted that. White Castle, we have to buy frozen. You can get it in the supermarkets here, frozen. Based on Cracker Barrel's behavior, we aren't missing much. Skyline chili with noodles and cinnamon. I know. Barry, you're absolutely right. And when you have, if you're not used to Skyline chili, the first time you taste it, there's that hint of cinnamon in the background, and it is so good. You really get used to it. Let's stay on the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Ryan Wayner.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Give it one more crack. Who's calling?
This is Ryan Wayner.
Oh, hey, Ryan. How are you, man?
Hey, how's it going, Jimmy? Pretty good. My brother Alan told me to call in. We were on the Spreaker tonight, and I figured I'd give it a shot, and I got through.
Oh, right on. I'm still waiting for your 2 videos, man. You never sent them to me.
Well, hey, I'm in Sacramento. I was kind of wanting to give them to you personally, if that's possible. I'm working and living in Sacramento now, so kind of weird, but
well, that's 8 hours away. But
well, here's the thing: I'm headed that way this coming week to Vegas, and I was thinking maybe on my way to Vegas I could come and bring them by personally.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll see what we can do with that. All right.
All right. Yeah.
We'll talk about
good.
that.
I'll keep them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off of the air. But yeah, I do want to check out these next 2 videos. This is Ryan, everybody, that shot the object up at ECETI Ranch that we posted that video of, and he's got 2 more videos that I've been waiting to see. I haven't seen them yet. Are they as great as the first one?
Yeah. Well, there's moving objects and the other videos that I have. Yeah, it's amazing what I caught all that day. I just noticed them later after I went through them with my brothers and by myself.
Right. And so you're in Sacramento. Where were you before Sacramento?
Tacoma. I was working in Tacoma.
Okay. Because we're talking about restaurants right now. Tacoma, great restaurants. You know what's weird? Sacramento's got great restaurants. It's like the opposite of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I tried this Mills Diner. It's where they filmed graffiti.
American Graffiti. Yes.
American Graffiti. Yeah. I went there. That was great. There's a bunch of old cars out front. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, we have Mel's Diner down here too as well. Rita and I ate there about a month ago. There's one not too far from us here in Burbank.
Yeah.
So
pretty impressive menu that they have.
Oh no, that's a great restaurant. And Rita, I'm wondering what we're going to do after the show tonight for food. Now we're all hungry. So somebody just posted Colorado has no Jack in the Box. Well, you're not missing much there, Jordan.
No.
But you always want what you can't have, right? So I guess Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box.
Well, I still have a place live at a place in Montana. I'm just on the road working, but I haven't been to my place in about 5 weeks now. But we don't have a Jack in the Box in Montana either, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, somebody just said, do you have Carrabba's out here? I know that there was a Carrabba's in Las Vegas. I don't remember a Carrabba's here in Southern California. Not that I remember, but there you go. So y'all set?
I'm planning on taking a trip up there again, and my plan is to go up there with my younger brother, Justin, and try and hike up to Mount Adams and try and get to the cave. We'll probably have to wait until the summertime, but that's the next plan for me.
Yeah, we have Yeah, we have a big event that we're going to be doing up there next August at ECETI, a Fade to Black event, and so you'll have to be there for that. That's going to be a pretty.
I definitely will.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. All right, Ryan. Well, thank you so much. You all set up for Thanksgiving this Thursday?
Yeah, I'm headed back to Tacoma. Actually, my mother and brothers are all going to be meeting there. So, and then after that, it's a family reunion in Las Vegas. So it's we got a lot of stuff going on right now.
All right. Well,
good.
I look forward to seeing these 2 videos. So be safe traveling to Las Vegas, and we'll talk off the air about that.
Thanks. Sounds great.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Again, be safe out there in your travels. That video that he shot up at ECETI is a mind bender. And if you haven't seen it, just go to our YouTube channel and check it out. But that is an amazing video, and he caught that. Well, okay. So that wraps another episode of Fade to Black. I do want to thank Richard Dolan tonight for coming in and doing what he does best, which is spread the knowledge. He is just the most fascinating person to talk to. And if you ever get a chance to hang out with Richard, he has hung out with the Fadernauts a lot and just sat and talked. But if you ever get a chance to do that, I strongly suggest that you do. His website is richarddolanpress.com. And when you go, you will see that he is revamping the website, and it is the holes are there. You can see where he is going in 2018. Very excited about that, and looking forward to his new book. Tomorrow night, we are moving Fader Night to tomorrow night. Wednesday, Thursday night, we are taking off. It is Thanksgiving. So tomorrow night is Fader Night, open lines all night long. John Rappaport has taken the week off. We'll see John next week on Fader Night on Thursday night. But tomorrow night, I do want to hear from all of you. So we'll have a couple of surprise friends stop by and hang out. But it's going to be open lines all night long. Let's just talk food. Let's talk Thanksgiving. What are we thankful for? Of course, the paranormal and the supernatural are always there for a phone call, but we'll be doing that all night tomorrow night. And there you go. So let me get out of here. I do want to thank everybody for tweeting tonight and all of the phone calls. This is Fade to Black, and man, it's my favorite night of the week. It's going to kick off tomorrow. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm and Renee. Thank you to Dennis and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Viteau, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Richard Dolan and everyone who called and tweeted tonight. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Until tomorrow night, Fader Night, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.